Greetings, Lumen students. It is week 12. This is your Tuesday video. We've been talking about knights, and I like imagining that I'm here battling these guys in a tournament. That is one of the options of things that you can research, little students, as you learn about knights and the tournaments and code of chivalry that they participate in. I have a story about a knight that is a little bit more realistic, perhaps. I want you to pay attention to the fact that it isn't all glory, battles, fame, okay? There are some interesting things that I want you to pay attention to as I read this small story or poem about Simon, the knight's son, okay? My lord grandfather fought in the Crusades with Richard the Lionheart. He told me tales, how he spitted Saracens upon his lance, cleaved them in twain, slashed open their skulls to save the holy city. My father also was a knight. We had to sell some of our land, we had land then, to pay for his weapons, his armor, a horse. My father came back home a year ago, half-starved, horseless, and on one leg. Ever since I was 4 or 5 years old, I knew I'd be a knight. I could see myself, a brawny stallion between my knees, riding into battle. I would fight for widows and orphans, for Christ and his church. I would be valiant, open-handed, frank and pure of heart, courteous, the soul of chivalry. I would ride into battle, slash, cut, left, right, sharpen my sword on a Saracen's throat, crush the bones of the heathen horde, all for the glory of our Lord. Except there is no money. And my mother says I have to be a monk, read Latin and pray, scourge myself, and sing at Mass every day, and cross myself 1,000 times a day. What surprised you about that? Simon the knight's son. It wasn't just enough to be the son of a knight, the grandson of a knight. You needed money. And the Crusades were expensive. It cost a lot of money. Buying weaponry, stallions, horses to ride into battle was expensive. And Simon's family's broke now, so he can't be a knight anymore. His father came home without a leg, can't work, and now he has to go to become a monk in a monastery instead. So I thought you might be interested to know that little brief bit of history. We're going to continue on with some more spelling review. I have chosen some words that fit really well with our topic for today. Night, N-I-G-H-T, okay, meaning when it's dark outside, the sun is down, and night, K-N-I-G-H-T. It's important to know the difference between those. Deer, of course, this is an animal, D-E-E-R, and dear, like Dear John, to write a letter. Hey, dear, you are dear to me. Okay, at the beginning of a letter or just a term of endearment, an expression. So I wanted you to review those and make sure you knew those for today as well. I have another Thanksgiving story that we're going to read as we work on action item 12.2. So this story is called The Night Before Thanksgiving. And it's kind of fun because it's patterned after the night before Christmas. So you'll notice some similarities between the two. The night before Thanksgiving. 'Twas the night before Thanksgiving, And all through the nation, families got ready for the big celebration. At our house, my mom baked 3 kinds of pies, pecan and pumpkin, and an apple surprise. That night we were nestled all snug in our beds while visions of turkey legs danced in our heads. The very next morning, Thanksgiving, yippee! We got up and watched the parade on TV. Relatives arrived from near and far, by taxi and airplane, by train and by car. My brother came up the basement stairs, lugging the kids' table and folding chairs. We counted and polished our best silverware, then set the 2 tables with patience and care. The turkey went in, and as more cousins came, I laughed and I shouted and called them by name. Hi, Danny. Hi, Donnie. Hi, Paul and Vicky. Hi, Casey. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Brenda and Ricky. Come in from the porch. Step into the hall. Now come and play. Come and play. Come and play all. So up to my room, my cousins, they flew. We played with my toys and computer games too. We made pilgrim hats and funny shoe buckles, then put on a skit for aunts and for uncles. All were assembled except Uncle Norm, who called us to say he was stuck in a storm. Meanwhile, my mother was getting out yams, cranberry jelly, and honey-baked hams. When Mom wasn't looking, we stuck olives on fingers, said they were puppets and grand opera singers. While dinner was cooking, we played dodgeball outside. Our tummies were growling. Can we eat yet? We cried. The timer then sounded. The turkey was cooked. Mom opened the oven. She sniffed and she looked. When what to our watering mouths should appear but a marvelous bird which caused us to cheer. Its skin, oh so golden, the drumstick so juicy. The stuffing was fluffy, thanks to my Aunt Lucy. Dad slid out the bird. It weighed 30 pounds. He turned, and then he tripped over one of our hounds. Up in the air the turkey did fly, over the string beans and straight for the pie. My brother and I made such a clatter as we leapt and caught the bird on a platter. All right, said Grandpa, get on with the carving. Can't you see that these people are starving? Dad spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. He sliced up the turkey, then turned with a jerk. In front of our house we heard beeps of a horn, and a trucker delivered, none other than Norm. With a wink of his eye and a twist of his head, the party can start. I made it, Norm said. We all took our places. The food smelled so great. We started to dig in, but Dad said to wait. We're thankful that everyone is together this year in our home and our hearts, where we hold you so dear. We ate and we ate, yet last but not least, the very next day was a leftovers feast. So, pretty fun Thanksgiving tale. The challenge on this action item 12.2 is to write some sentences using the subordinating conjunction unless. And I'm going to give you some examples, and if you want to fill out these sentences, then that will count and you can send them in as your action items. So, I won't eat blank unless, and then you fill it in, okay? Do you have certain foods at Thanksgiving that you won't eat unless your mom makes them, or unless your grandma makes them, or unless you won't eat the yams unless they have the marshmallows on top, or you won't eat the turkey unless it's white meat? And do you have other rules about what you will and won't eat at Thanksgiving? So that's one sentence you can try. Unless, and we're going to put it at the beginning as a dependent clause, unless blank, it won't feel like Thanksgiving. How could you fill that in? Okay. Unless something happens, what has to happen in order for it to feel like Thanksgiving for you? Unless my Uncle Steve comes, it won't feel like Thanksgiving. Okay. Unless we have our turkey bowl game, it won't feel like Thanksgiving. Unless we watch the parade in the morning, it won't feel like Thanksgiving, right? Do you have certain things that are important to you? And you can fill in that dependent clause. Remember that if it comes at the beginning, it needs a comma after it. So make sure that you include that as well. And Thanksgiving won't be fun unless what? And you fill it in. What does Thanksgiving need to become really fun for you? Okay. Thanksful. What did I write there? My goodness. Oh, wow. Good thing I noticed that. Oh, that's funny. Mistakes help you learn, right, students? Thanksgiving won't be fun unless, and if you fill out those sentences, you can send them to me or some unless sentences of your own. We're going to continue on with 7 Wonders of the Ancient World. 7 Wonders of Sassafras Springs, excuse me. And with Ray Ellen and what she gets out of her bag. So let's take a look at that. Maybe it's going to be a knight's sword with my background. Ray Ellen led me to the window, carefully opened the bag, and reached inside. It's a ship in a bottle, Ray Ellen's voice quivered. My Uncle Dutch gave it to me. I stared at the dusty bottle. The tiny ship inside didn't impress me much. I know how they do it, I bragged. They collapse the boat, stick it in the bottle, and they pull it up again with a string. It's a trick, not a wonder. Even McAllister? Are you dumb as a post? This isn't some regular old ship in a bottle. This is a real live ship with a cargo of pure and terrible evil. Ray Ellen's eyes widened as she paused. Now, are you going to write this down or not? Oh, go on, I said, pulling out my tablet, but make it fast. Ray Ellen's story, The Dark Seas. Uncle Dutch says in summer he'd watch the waves of corn out in the field, and all he could think about was the ocean and cool water and tropical breezes. As soon as he was old enough, he snuck out of the house and went east, looking for the sea and a job on a ship. He didn't know diddly about ships or sailing, so he had to tell a fib to get a job as a cabin boy. He went on a great big ship, the SS Phantom of the Sea. A phantom is a ghost, you know. Anyway, the ship was heading for Africa. That's about as far away as you can go. Uncle Dutch says back in the cornfields he hadn't thought about seasickness and bad food and nasty sailors, and that's what he found there. But he liked the blue waves and the cool breezes, and his belly got used to the ship rocking after a while. The big problem was the captain of the ship. His name was Captain Graves, and he was meaner than old lady Ellis. She won't even let me take a shortcut through her orchard. She says I stole her apples. Anyway, the captain, he kept all the good food locked up for himself while the crew half starved, and he treated the sailors like dirt, worse than you boys treat us girls. Uncle Dutch says he was skin and bones after a few weeks, and the whole crew was grumbling about Captain Graves. Well, they reached the tip of Africa, and they were supposed to go all the way around the Cape of something or other. Then the most awfulest terrible storm hit, the SS Phantom of the Sea. The sailors were scared out of their wits, especially Uncle Dutch. The waves whooshed over the deck. Lightning struck all around them. Finally, the first mate, he's the head sailor, knocked on the captain's door. Captain Graves was mad as all get out that somebody disturbed him because he'd been drinking his expensive liquor from France or some such place. The first mate told him the crew was scared and wanted to sail into a safe harbor for the night. They knew they were close to land. And that mean captain cussed him with bad words, even real bad. So bad I can't say them. I'm afraid of nothing on heaven or earth, he said, and he slammed the door on the first mate's face. Bang! Uncle Dutch says he prayed for the storm to let up, but it got worse and worse.
He hung onto the side of the ship for dear life, and all he could think about were the rows of corn waving in the hot sun. And he swore if he ever got to land safely, he'd never set foot on a ship again. That's what he was thinking when a huge wave crashed against the deck and washed 2 sailors overboard right before his eyes. The crew sent down them whatchamacallits, life preservers, to fish him out, but no one ever laid eyes on them again. The rest of the crew was wailing like ghosts, which Uncle Dutch says he thought they were soon going to be. So they went back to the captain's cabin, and the first mate knocked. This time the captain was roaring mad when he opened the door. His eyes were bloodshot, and his breath was hot. "Bunch of quivering cowards," he called them, and said that all of them together didn't have the courage of one real man like him. "God will not sink my ship. He wouldn't dare," he shouted. And you know, Eben, it's not a good idea to dare the Lord. The sailors were fixing to gather down below to decide what to do. As they walked away from the cabin, they saw something coming toward them, glowing like fox fire out of the piney woods. It was something horrible with fiery red eyes. It walked toward them, then it walked right through them and on into the captain's cabin. Without bothering to open the door, it was a ghost, or maybe it was something even worse. Uncle Dutch says they could hear the captain talking like he was having a conversation, but they could only hear one voice. "I want no help. I need no help. Get off my ship," the captain shouted. There were 3 gunshots. Pow! 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 They heard a weird voice like the wind howling. "This ship is doomed, and you are doomed to remain on board for all eternity." Uncle Dutch says that means forever and ever. And the words gave my uncle an awful chill. The sailors broke down the door, and they were surprised as could be to see Captain Graves standing there with his pistol in one hand and an empty bottle in the other. It was the same bottle, Eben, and there was no one else in the room, not a sign of another living soul. There was a crash, boom, and the ship pitched over on its side. Uncle Dutch says he slid right out of the little round window called the porthole over the edge of the ship, and the next thing he knew he was in the water, hanging on to a piece of floating wood. After a while the clouds lifted, and out popped a full moon with a big smiling face. The storm was over. Uncle Dutch says he doesn't know how long he floated, but sometime the next day he reached land. He couldn't believe his good luck. He crawled on shore and looked around for other signs of life, but he never saw another sailor from that ship again. He spent the day there, and that afternoon he found something else that had floated ashore. It was this bottle, and inside was this ship, just like you see it now, with these letters on the side saying SS Phantom of the Sea. And you better believe that, Eben, or you'll be sorry. Uncle Dutchman says he wandered for a while until he found a village. Some Englishmen helped him get a place on the ship coming back home. Since he got back, he's never so much as set a foot in a canoe. He won't even get in the bathtub. He says nothing makes him happier than a hot summer day. The drier, the better. And he gave me this bottle because he said he never wanted to see the side of it again. And he told me to take special care of it. "Don't ever break it, Ray Ellen," he said. "I can't be responsible for what would happen if all that evil ever got out." Ray Ellen stopped talking long enough for me to figure out the story was over. "It's a one-of-a-kind, wonderful, isn't it?" she asked. "It's a good story," I said, "and it could be a wonder. I might get to Colorado yet." "Colorado!" Ray Ellen screeched. "Well, what do I get? It's my story. What are you going to give me for it?" I considered for a moment. "I'll give you my pie on the first day of school." At least then she wouldn't have to steal it. "First week," she insisted. 5 whole days. I was in no mood to argue. "First week," I agreed, "and if I were you, Ray Ellen, I'd take real good care of that bottle, just in case." When we came outside again, it was dark, and Pa insisted on driving Ray Ellen home in the pickup. That was a wonder, because Pa wasn't one to waste gas. In fact, some folks didn't even know we had a truck. He used it so seldom. He made me ride along, but I don't think any of us said a word all the way to the Hubbles' place. I kept a close eye on that burlap sack. On the way back home, big fat raindrops started plopping on the windshield. "Looks like your friend brought us some luck," said Pa. I didn't believe that, but I was feeling pretty certain that she brought me a genuine wonder. So students, let's before I break, let me just encourage you again to decide what, little students, what you want to research. And as you're getting ready for Thanksgiving, I want you to think about some of these funny stories that different family members have told. And I want you to consider maybe you might like to ask your aunts and uncles and grandparents if they have any stories, if anything wonderful, like Ray Ellen said, has happened to them. You might be surprised what you might learn, what kind of wonders are in your family as well. These are some fun tall tales and some great stories, but maybe there's stories in your family are even better. So I encourage you to think about that, and we'll catch you next tomorrow.